Chapter 18. The British Rule and the Revolt of 1857. India was a very rich country in the ancient time. In fact, it was called the Golden Bird. The story of its richness was spread far and wide. When the Arabs heard about it, they established trade relations with India. They were the first to establish trade relation with India. They traded in spices, textile and pearls. Gradually, the Europeans also heard about it and decided to have a trade link with India. But with the passage of time, the motive of Europeans changed and they captured many parts of India. In this chapter, you will study how the Europeans came and established their rule in many parts of India. Besides, you will also study how the native people revolted against them. The first European in India. The first European to find a sea route to India was the Portuguese Vasco da Gama. He went around Africa and located Calicut in Kerala in 1498. The British East India Company came to India with the intention of trading in spices, cotton and silk cloth, medicines, perfumes, precious stones and metals. Eventually, the British gained a strong foothold by defeating the Portuguese, Dutch and French. They set up big trading centers at Surat, Bombay or Mumbai, Madras or Chennai, and Calcutta, Kolkata, and turned them into forts. Though the British was earning a good amount of money from the trade, yet their greediness increased day by day. They started misusing the facilities granted by the Mughal rulers to make even more profit. When Siraj-ud-Dawla, the Nawab of Bengal, protested against the British ways of trading, they started a war against him in 1757. This war is known as the Battle of Plassey. The Nawab of Bengal was defeated. In 1764, the East India Company started another war against the combined armies of Nawabs of Bengal and Awadh and the Mughal Emperor. This was called the Battle of Buxar. They won the war and obtained the right to collect revenue in Bengal. This made the company very powerful. After spending much time in India, they noticed that there was no unity among the Indian rulers. They were in fact fighting with each other. The British took advantage of this situation and applied the policy of divide and rule. The use of this policy helped them to capture a number of kingdoms. They gradually extended their power in other parts of India. However, there were a few powerful kingdoms like the Marathas, Punjab and Mysore who did not give in to the British. The British fought many wars against them and ultimately defeated them. By 1850, they had established their rule in most parts of India. Growing discontent among Indians. The British did not want to leave any opportunity of making profit. They focused in the agricultural sector. They forced the farmers to grow cash crops like opium and indigo. These crops were then bought at a very low price by the British and sold in foreign lands at high prices. To make the matter even worse, the farmers had to pay huge taxes. As a result, the Indian farmers became very poor. The Indian handloom industry suffered the same fate as the agriculture. It was completely destroyed due to the corrupt policies of the British. Silk and cotton growers were forced to sell their products to the British at very low prices. These were then sent to Britain, where cloth was manufactured, and sent back to India for sale at high prices. This ruined the Indian textile industry. The Indian cotton growers and weavers became jobless. The Revolt of 1857.
Almost every section of the Indian society was affected by the British policies.
After the Indian rulers and farmers, the Indian soldiers in the British Army also became discontented. They were paid much less as compared to the British soldiers. They were also denied higher posts which were only reserved for the British people. However, things became worse with the introduction of the Enfield rifle in the army. It was rumored that the cartridges used in the rifles had casing coated with the fat of cows and pigs which had to be bitten off. This hurt the religious sentiments of both the Hindus and Muslims. The Indian soldiers refused to use these bullets and revolted against the British in 1857. This revolt of 1857 is also known as the First War of Independence. Mangal Pandey was the first soldier to protest. Soon, the other soldiers revolted. The revolt started in Meerut on 10th May 1857 and spread to Delhi, Kanpur, Lucknow, Jhansi, etc. The prominent leaders who led the revolt were Nana Sahib, Tantia Tope, Begum Hazrat Mahal, Rani Lakshmi Bai, etc. The farmers and workers too joined the revolt. The last Mughal emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar was declared the supreme leader by the soldiers. However, the British had a larger army and better weapons. They crushed the revolt. Many Indian leaders and soldiers were arrested and executed. Bahadur Shah Zafar was arrested and sent on exile to Burma, now Myanmar. Result of the revolt of 1857. The Mughal rule came to an end. Some local rulers were allowed to rule their territories but were under the British control. The rule of the East India Company also ended. India came under the direct control of the British Crown and the British Parliament. The British government appointed a Governor-General to rule the country. He was also called the Viceroy. The first Viceroy of India was Lord Canning. The revolt laid down the foundation for the future freedom struggle and awakened the Indians. It inspired the Indians and soon the Indian independence movement started.